Welcome to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past broadcasts are podcasts. Find them at ArtistFirst.com. We welcome your questions and comments. Send us an email to dj@artistfirst.com. And now here they are, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
And thank you very much, Z-Man. And I'm Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret.
And this has been a roller coaster of a day.
Yes, it has.
Yes, it has. And it's been a roller coaster of a year.
It's been a roller coaster of...
It's been a roller coaster of life.
Yes.
And our life together has been somewhat of a roller coaster.
Somewhat, he says.
And I think all our lives are. And that's the topic. That will be our subject tonight. We are going to be talking about life and roller coasters. And there's a great debate going on right now, a raging debate going on right now. Am I overselling this? I might be. There's a small question, a conundrum about the word roller coaster, because I've gone to Merriam-Webster. Among us, we are somewhat agreed that it should be one word. But Merriam-Webster, who you can't trust, has it as a hyphenated word and two words. So...
It's one of those, you take your pick.
They're British, aren't they? You can't trust the British.
I don't.
Neither Merriam, Merriam and Webster, first of all, should be one word. It should be the Merriam-Webster, but it's not. So we're going to go with Anyway.
Whatever your preference is.
Who are we to judge? Love is love.
You love the hyphen, or don't you?
I love the hyphen.
I see.
This is kind of off the rails, off the roller coaster track. Anyway, our roller coaster life is as we've talked about many times on the Soul of the Everyman, has had its ups and downs, and everyone's roller coaster life has its ups and downs. And so we thought, because very recently we were exposed to a surfeit, to a something.
An endless stream.
An anathema of roller coasters.
Yes, anathema. That's
an anathema of roller coasters, which is, I think, the plural of anathema. Anathema of roller coasters. We're still recovering. We're too old for roller coasters. Maybe we're not, but we're too old to survive them unscathed. We're still recovering. We thought, well, let's talk about roller coasters. So without further ado, and without further beating around the coaster, we will dive into it. We don't really have a quote, but we have sort of a, this is an unattributed thing. It didn't, I tried to find something, and there were many, Margaret, many variations on a theme on this. I looked for something, because we thought, well, roller coaster, and let's look for a pithy quote. Well, we didn't really find one. But you want to do it? You do it.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
All right.
You do it.
Life is a roller coaster. It has its ups and downs. But it's your choice to enjoy it or not.
Indeed.
Unattributed.
Unattributed. And we also I wrote a little bit of something about it, which is nobody gets off this coaster alive. It's kind of almost our theme. Nobody gets off the planet alive. Well, if the planet were a roller coaster, that sounds macabre and morbid a bit. Anyway, so nobody gets off this coaster alive. Nobody gets off, nobody gets out of life alive.
Well, and if you look at it in terms of beginning and end.
Yeah. At least in this incarnation.
Right.
And nobody gets to decide where the cars take them, or how steep the drops are, or when the ride ends. The ego, though, our friend the ego, wants to control all these things, and it feels helpless when it cannot.
The only choice the ego has is, what seat do you want to sit in? Because you can choose the front, the middle, or the back.
Yeah, I'm not so sure with life that you get to choose your seat, but maybe you do. I don't know.
No, you do. You choose where you're going to sit in the midst of the ride. So that in itself speaks of how you make your own decisions.
Well, I kind of like that. I hadn't thought of the fact that you do get to choose your seat in your roller coaster when you get on.
Well, think about it. When you're watching people and they want to board this, most people just, we want to run to the next open slot so that we can get on. But some people are like, well, gee, I want to go on the end. I don't want to see what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And others are like, I want to see what's coming. I want to go into the very first car.
Right. And some are like me who have to take off their glasses and they're blind throughout the whole thing.
Then you have the sheer terror aspect, being blind, riding through a roller coaster.
Which I think reminds me of a song. No, it reminds me that life is like that. Life, as we said, life is like that. And our beings, the actual essence of who we are, that which incarnates down here, and not the ego, which is trying to choose its seat. No, we know that the ultimate choice is what this quote says, is that we get to choose to enjoy it, or not. You make your own misery. Your roller coaster, your life, is really, unlike a physical roller coaster, you can't look at it before you get on. Maybe you can choose your seat. I'm not so sure, but I think you get into the car and then maybe you start off and somewhere along the way someone gets into the car next to you, and that's always good because you have a companion now, and you're both going through this together. But really, no one of us, we all get our own roller coaster. Maybe the cars go together for a while. And then maybe they part, and things come onto your roller coaster and go off your roller coaster. I mean, you stretch an analogy far enough, and it starts to break down. Mm-hmm. But the true part of it is you don't know what's coming.
Well, okay, this is what I mean by your choice in seating. As I said, there are people who would rather not see what's coming and hang on for dear life.
Mm-hmm.
There are those that want to ride the back because they want to feel the whip, because no matter what happens in the back car, you're going to get that little lash of motion. And then the ones in the very front want to see what's coming.
Well, they want to think that they see what's coming.
Well, at least what I've found is if I'm sitting in the very front and you're going through this, the body, and you see what's coming, your body automatically adjusts when it understands that it's just about to go through this corkscrew, and your face is going to get slammed into the harness on the right-hand side.
Right.
You basically, the body adjusts and braces, and you're going in for a dive or a swoop, and it again adjusts because it can see that. It just automatically tries to come to a point where it's at the center of gravity, where it's not being slammed into the seat.
I think if you abstract that, there is certainly something to keeping your eyes open. In your life, in your roller coaster. If you're accepting the moment of now, which is that moment in the roller coaster when you can see a little bit ahead of you and you see what's coming, and you don't fight it, or you don't try to, in essence, avoid it or somehow stop the ride. I don't want to go through this right now.
You can't.
You can't. But if you just say, well, this is the moment now, you accept it, you do. Your heart, song, your body, your being adjusts to it. And then in adjusting to it, what you're really saying is, I'm going to enjoy this. Here comes the unavoidable 95-degree drop. And you're going to yourself, couldn't it have been, why 95? It doesn't matter. So there's the unavoidable cliff.
Okay, that's when your ego is trying to reason with you.
Exactly.
But if you're really riding in the moment, and frankly, when you see what's coming, you're not thinking about, this is going to be terrifying. You're just terrified Okay? It's just, there's no hesitation. There's no moment of...
That's very profound.
Okay.
And I say that again because it's very profound. When you say, please do.
When you are in the seat and you're hurtling along, you're not sitting there going, oh, well, this... Because people think that if you can see what's coming somehow, you've got time to prepare for it.
Mm.
The truth of the matter is you've never really experienced this before. You know that that's what's coming, but you're not thinking about being terrified. You're just terrified. But being terrified is way different than thinking about being terrified.
That's the profound portion of it. That's what I loved about that, is that in truth, as you accept the moment of now, and maybe it's a terrifying moment of now, you're falling off a cliff, in essence, in this roller coaster. You're just terrified. You're not thinking about being terrified. So in one way, you're completely, totally present and in the now.
Yes.
In your terror.
Right. Your ego just shuts up completely.
Completely.
There's nothing it can say or do to manipulate the moment. You are strapped in. You are locked in. You can't
avoid it.
You can't. You are your backside is snugly fit into that seat, and you got a chest harness on.
Yeah.
And the only thing that you can manipulate is maybe your hands on what you're going to cling to.
Hmm.
But everything has been made so that you can experience it without getting thrown off the ride. And the body doesn't understand that. If you ride it enough, it will understand it and basically decide, okay, now I know what's happening. I'm going to adjust certain ways. And I know that I'm not going to slam my head into the side or the back or whatever. You just like, okay, this is coming, so it adjusts, and that's it. It's right in that moment. You're purely physical in that moment, and you are experiencing what it means to feel the G-forces, to feel the swirl, to feel the swoops. You're diving into the earth, and suddenly you're pulling up. It's like ridiculous.
Well, but I think what I'm getting from what you just said, and why I think it's so profound, is that if you're in the moment of now, in your life, not in the roller coaster, but in your roller coaster life, when something comes out of the blue, comes into your life you're completely unprepared for it, just like the roller coaster the first time through, let's say. You don't know what's coming, there it is. You don't have any moment to think.
Right.
You don't say, well, oh, good, I have my insurance, it'll be fine. No, you just say, oh, yes, I wore the color blue. No, you're just instantly, totally accepting the moment of now, and it's in pure, maybe it's pure terror. It doesn't matter what it is. It's a pure reactive moment. You're in that moment of now. And that's why I think when you're doing that, what Tolle says, what happens to people all the time is in suffering, or in these moments where the ego is perforce made to shut up. The thinking can't keep up with what's actually happening. The ego can't formulate, what I should have done, could have done. No, there's no time for any of that. You're just in that moment, and it breaks free. It puts you into consciousness because you don't have a choice. By the choice, I mean is the ego doesn't have any time to say, well, hang on a second, stop the car for a moment. I've just got to figure this out. Or,
right. Well, that's that moment in that quote where you decide whether you like it or not.
Right.
Whether you enjoy it or not. Are you enjoying it? You may enjoy it even though you don't like it. I mean...
Yes. But in fact, that's what I mean. It doesn't become an ego, I'm enjoying this because I've got my insurance. It's I accept this. I'm in it right now. There's nothing I can do to stop this, and I'm going to live it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be in it. And yeah, maybe, if to stretch that analogy backwards, if you could ride the ride over and over again through the exact same course, and in essence say, oh, well, now I know what to do. It's like there's sometimes, Margaret, these things where they'll say, if you take this pill, you have your choice. You can go back to you were 10 years old, but knowing everything you know now, almost like you're getting a do-over, like the kids do in their games. You're getting a respawn, a do-over.
Respawn, yeah.
And so the second time through, oh yeah, I know this monster's going to pop up here. I know that happens, this happens, the other thing happens, and I'm all ready. I've got my insurances. I'm ready. This is a fantasy for people that somehow, if I had a practice life where this is just the first run through, and then it's going to be the exact same thing again, like a race car driver who drives the course.
Yeah.
The first time through, it's a completely in the being moment because every curve is heart-stopping because you don't know if the car is going to fail, if you're going to fail, if something's going to go wrong. Then the 100th time through, you're like, oh, yeah, and you get faster and you get better because you're no longer surprised by it.
It becomes body memory at that point.
Right. But life isn't like that. Life is interesting. The roller coaster of life, I thought of this too, and I'll bounce it off you and see if it makes any sense to you. You see in this picture a single, on the website, which you guys can't see, but there's a single loop. And the beautiful thing about this picture that we liked, Margaret and I both liked, is that all the people in the car, so the car of this experience is completely upside down. It was a beautiful shot caught in that moment when you're doing a loop-de-loop, and in this picture, everyone's just upside down. Now, you can't see it, but everyone is in the moment of complete and pure terror because you're hurtling along at 7,000 miles an hour and you're upside down. Okay. If you did that over and over again, it would become dull, rote, routine. You'd be like, oh yeah, I'm checking my email because it's just going up and down again. Our lives have spirals rather than loop-de-loops that we do over and over again. You can come around the roller coaster again later, maybe a year later, maybe 40 years later, and you can see the loop that you did back then. You have better perspective. You say, yeah, I did that loop. It's almost the same loop. This one's not quite the same, but at least I have some idea of how I should have maybe done that. And people get used to that. That's a lie too, because the current loop that you're on has, even though it looks the same, isn't the same. It's going to have something different. The place where, we just turn here and it goes down, and it's going to go, you turn here, you go down, and it goes straight down, and it goes into this crazy thing because that didn't happen last time. And the ego loves this idea that, I know now, right? The I know ego says, oh yeah, I did that before, I did that before, I did that before.
Well, I can prepare for it.
Oh yeah, I know, I've got it all down now.
I can practice it until I don't. And there are many people who do this. You practice it until, okay, I'm not afraid anymore. And I wonder about that sometimes. Is that really, really good? Or is it better to be able to handle what's coming at you in the moment? And even if you mishandled it the first time, but you're still calm and centered.
See, I think we're front car people. I think that attitude is a front car attitude. I don't want to know what happened. I want to be right up front with nothing in between me and the thing. And I'm going to handle it.
Right. It's fine with me with seeing what's coming. Some people just, I'm going to close my eyes throughout the whole ride. I might as well not be able to see kind of moment, Yes.
Yes, that's true too.
There's a bunch of people just with closing their eyes and just screaming.
I'm glad you brought up the screaming because the screaming is an important part here. But I think I like the other one too. It's just that there are people who, in their roller coaster life, they close their eyes, and that's sort of an analogous to being completely unconscious. I don't want to think about it. I just want it to be completely, almost unseen. Don't tell me anything. I'm just going to close my eyes and hang on, and let me know when it's over.
And it's everybody's got to choose how they're going to handle something, and there are those who will do it that way, and then there are those who are just like, well, it's just a ride, and you're strapped in, and I want to try that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, to kind of move the analogy, the screaming is, I think, important too, because, if you look at a roller coaster and you think of it again as your life, some people's egos are in complete and total fear. And the slow parts. Okay, the roller coaster isn't always going 90 miles an hour. In the beginning, generally, it's slow. And there are parts where it slows down. And they give you a moment. They give your ego, in essence, a moment to let me, give me a moment, let me overthink this. Oh man, it's going to be terrible. And we're going up and it's click, 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 click. And it's going up and up and up. I'm getting scared. It's going to be horrible. And that portion.
Building tension.
Building that tension is because the ego thinks it can see ahead. It thinks it knows what's about to go on, and then it imagines all the things that could go wrong or go this way or that way.
Or actually, it's sitting there going, "Why did I do this? Why did I agree to this?"
Right. You sit there in both future and past with the ego. The ego is saying, "Why did I do this? How who I blame it on this one. This one made me go," and then the future is all the fear of what's going to happen, and it's going to be terrible, it's going to go this way and that way. And the centered heart accepting would be, well, this is slow. I'm going to enjoy this. This is, we're going to the top. I'm going to enjoy this. We're at the top. I'm going to enjoy this. What happens next? It doesn't matter. We're just going to accept where we are now. The other thing was the screaming. The releasing of that scream, the expression of this abject terror, is also kind of saying, I'm not going to enjoy this. I'm going to be afraid of this. It's going to be terrible. You hear those screams all the way down the first drop.
Yeah.
and maybe some of that's involuntary. And maybe that's okay if it is, but I think some of it is just because you've built up this idea of what's going to happen, and it's not the idea. It's not what you thought it was going to be.
It's a physical reaction.
True.
The scream basically lets out the energy so that you can handle what's going on.
Right.
That's why people have screamed. In fact, in war screams, war cries, that's to amp yourself up and to release that energy. But it's a focus. So you just let the scream out. Basically, yeah, my body's terrified, but this is great. That's the enjoyment part.
Yeah, I guess, the scream, I didn't think of it that way. It can also be, as you say, it can become a focal point, what do they call it in the old days, the primal scream therapy. You get in touch with the part of you which is not verbal.
Right.
And you tap into the wells of energy and emotion which people have trouble expressing, especially if everything's corralled through the ego and corralled through thought, and it has to make sense. It has to make sense. And the primal scream therapy was just literally just open your mouth and howl, bay at the moon, and for no other reason that you want to, and that you're, as you say, releasing energy.
Yeah, kind of like you're a baby again. And you're just screaming because that's what you can do. You feel whatever it is you're feeling, you're just letting it all out. What I thought was fascinating was that our kids, basically we're laughing through the whole thing.
Well, you should give context for that. I was trying to not go too deep, but yes, we did go.
No, but I mean, to see a person who's laughing through these ups and downs and spins and whatever, I think is a wonderful thing, because it's like, yeah, I'm just going to enjoy this. I feel like, but this is great.
We did do physical roller coasters despite our advanced age. Well, I'll speak for myself, which hurt us at a deep and personal level. I'm still recovering, but the kids, it is true. I think if you go into life, and into the roller coaster and choose your seat, and you decide, I'm going to enjoy this. Really, literally, as you incarnate, I'm going to enjoy this. Your first breath is a scream. as you're born. Your last breath may be a scream too, for all you know. And in between, there's a lot of screaming. But if you just set yourself that I'm going to enjoy this, it can be screams of laughter. It can be howls of laughter.
Howls of laughter.
It can be in essence, the joy that's bubbling up doesn't have words.
No.
As you blast along through your life, taking every curve at whatever speed life throws it at you, and just saying, yeah, bring on more. Let's go. That idea of, those are words, but that sentiment of just, I love it. When you see, that level of its acceptance and that level of release of energy. So you're at a focal energy point. You've released the ego to whatever the ego wants to. We don't care. We don't care what you want to do. We're not quantifying this. It's not going in boxes. The energy's welling up because it's the energy of life, survival, ki, whatever you want to call it. It's infusing your whole being, and you just let it out in every way possible. It's going out of your mouth. It's going out of your fingers and your body, and your arms are flying. And yes, it's just life. I'm living it.
Yeah, I think
it hurts. It hurts, but it's okay.
Well, I think that roller coasters are really good at allowing you to just shut up that mental aspect.
Completely good, yeah. And
allow that part that hasn't had a voice to scream.
Yeah.
It's perfectly acceptable to scream on that ride.
That's another very profound thing. You can find the most sort of buttoned up people, the ones who are really, they're very, very reserved and they're very measured. Put them on a roller coaster at the part where it's going, like upside down, and they're all that reserve and all that ego and all that sort of, it's not really false, but it's just layers of. Yeah,
it was put in as defense to handle other people.
Yeah, or just grown on top of them as a, as a, this is what life wants me to do. People, I can't, got to be this and got to do that. All that's thrown to the wind, and you see a flash, if you can observe it, of their true being nature. And if they're people who say, oh yeah, I love roller coasters, and you say, why? Well, I just like them. What they really love about them is what you just said. You can be free.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. No one's going to look at you and say, "Why are you screaming?" No, you're screaming because there's a great reason to scream. When
the fact that you're not screaming is amazing.
Right. Or you get off and your skin is flushed and your heart is pounding and your eyes are wide open and you
Talk
feel
about aerobics.
It's a rush. It's the same sort of rush. I think I haven't done this, but I've talked to people who have. People jump out of an airplane,
Yeah.
And you had to be in the absolute being moment of now to do that. To take all the ego things and all the stuff that's thinking you maybe shouldn't do this. Your insurance policy says you shouldn't really jump out of airplanes, and you say hell with it, in essence, in so many words, without those words, and you just go whoa, and you jump out of an airplane, and then you've thrown yourself in essence into a moment of abject freedom, of hurtling through space with nothing tying you down, nothing below you but empty air, falling at terminal velocity.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, whatever you've got within you that's been pent up or burdening, you release it. Just if it's not a physical scream, it's a scream of just this, I'm alive. And then you do have to pull the ripcord, but if you really didn't, if you went out that way, it wouldn't be a bad way to go.
Oh my!
Oh
dear!
Just at the very pinnacle of a life expression. Now I'm not advocating this. Don't call the suicide prevention hotline.
Mm-hmm.
And what I am advocating is very moment we're going to go back to the studio. But that's, I think, a very important component of why people like roller coasters. Don't you think?
Yes.
Okay, and with that, well, let's take our roller coaster back to the studio. We're going to get out of the cars. We're going to take a little breather. We're going to listen to some commercials and come back on the other side and talk more about life.
Batman Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lyons, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere.
Moonstones and murder. Real murderers need a heart of stone. Meet Maggie and Mike Heartstone, parents of twin boys, entrepreneurs, and now empty nesters. Mike is retired, not by choice, from his position as chief of police in the picturesque resort town of Hamilton. And now his wife Maggie and her shop, the Cozy Crystal, are their only source of income. When a mysterious killing interrupts Hamilton's famous Springfield Park rock show, the townsfolk, the Cozy Crystal, and their lives are rocked to the core. Can Mike and Maggie figure out who is behind the murderous deeds before the town comes crashing down around them? A touch of romance, a little mayhem, and a whole lot of suspense, along with plenty of comedy and thrills galore. Get your crystal magnifying glass out. It's time for some Moonstones and murder. Available on Amazon, Apple, Kobo, and other fine e-tailers in ebook and paperback. Out soon on Audible. Get your copy today.
Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lyons is book 1 of the adventures of Devkalion, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time.
The wait is over. First Blood, Book 2 of the Blood series is out. Your favorite bad boy thief Dev is back, and the beautiful and deadly Trey is right there with him. She is sharp, sexy, and full of surprises. Their adventures continue as a new power arises to threaten the world. The heart of creation is under attack, and time is definitely not on their side as they battle against their enemies' undead hordes. Can they unlock the hidden power that can defeat him, or will his forces draw first blood? Get all 3 installments in the series. Book 0, It's in the Blood. Book 1, Destroyer's Blood, and the new release, Book 2, First Blood, today. Available in ebook and paperback format on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, and most other fine e-tailers.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Brag Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
Hi, this is William B. Davis, the actor who plays the Smoking Man, or did play the Smoking Man on The X-Files. I'm also a writer, director, producer, and I am delighted to tell you that you are listening to the ArtistFirst radio network.
Joining us on The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Let's get back to your hosts, Michael and Margaret Lons.
And thank you very much, He-Man. And tonight we're talking about roller coasters, but there's still a raging debate. So if any of you can give us money, if any of you can figure out exactly whether it's roller coaster, or roller-coaster, we'll give you a special prize. But Margaret, there's something I wanted that occurred to me during the break while we were talking about that, which was, when the ego is a funny thing. The ego, let's say, that life is roller coaster, but that you do get to choose at points which roller coaster you're going to get on. Let's stretch the analogy still further, so that at some point or another you have to choose your path. And you don't know what the next roller coaster is going to be like. So you just got off one. Let's say the first one you got on was this little log flume, and it went down a couple of bumps, and you had a little splash, and said, that wasn't so bad. Let's get on the next one. So we get on the next one, and the next one is like a maglev bullet ride to hell. Like, but I think then the ego says, man, I'm gonna evaluate this and choose the next one. So the ego wants to choose the roller coaster. It wants to look at it, wants to evaluate, it wants to say, well, this one has, and there's stuff, and I think we should take this roller coaster here. This looks quite safe. And that part of people's ego is the part that I think gets them into these reactions that they say, well, I chose this, but now it's not working out well, so it must be someone else's fault. And I chose this, but I don't like it very much, and I want a different ride. I want a refund. I want to get off this ride and get on another one. And I think it's the illusion of being able to choose your roller coaster and know where it's going to go. And know that this one, has. We saw that too. We're in Sloan Kettering. We're in the really fast part of a really dark and crazy roller coaster. You've just gone up the hill and you've gone off the cliff. You got diagnosed. And now
you're in free fall.
You're in free fall, and the diagnosis is cancer. And you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where it's going to pull up. You don't know if you're going to hit bottom. And people are like, well, I didn't sign up for this roller coaster. I want to off this roller coaster. I'd like another roller coaster, please. This has got to be someone else's fault. I specifically chose a roller coaster that I knew would not have this outcome. I want to see the manager. Right? I want you to stop this roller coaster right now. I want to get off. I'm going to walk down.
Well, what I found fascinating was, the wait in order to board the coaster. Because you have this huge line usually before you get on, and it's fascinating because people are like, well, this is the newest ride. We got to hit that one, or we're going to do this, and they just queue up. People queue up to do this. Now, if you ask them what's motivating them, it's, well, this is the new ride, and I want to try it.
Right.
All right. Without really thinking about how this is actually happening, what I find fascinating is the ones that are a little afraid of this, a little afraid of the coasters. They want to go on the ones that aren't quite new, because the ones that aren't brandy new aren't as tall or as high or as sharp in their turns, and they're thinking, oh, this will be less terrifying for me if I take this other coaster, which is a little older and shorter.
Right.
And they get on it and they discover that, it's older and it gives you a heck of a lot more bumps, and you don't have a harness, And,
Right.
it's like, it's not registering, maybe is the word I'm looking for, that a roller coaster is a roller coaster. It's meant to bring your physical body through these strange sensations that you would never normally feel. to bring excitement to you. They're thinking, well, this is a little bit less. It's like, what are you actually looking for? That's my question. Maybe you need to go to the kiddie zone there, over there. See, it's a little, and even there's some bumpies.
Yeah.
It's how are you going through the ride so you don't have any kind of bumps or unexpected turns, or that's when you take the sky ride where you're just going across the park.
Right. You take the cable car.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was something there I liked about that, is that I think the ego, if you really, really in life, the ego would like to be able to choose the ride, choose the ending, choose how many bumps, how many turns,
The research, they're doing their research.
Research the whole thing. And then the unfortunate part about that is the ego and its, the plankton in its planktonmobile, the ego in its egomobile, which is what people think they are, thinks it's getting on a particular ride. I've got all the right insurances, I've paid all the right things, I've got the right education, I've got it all set out, I've got my path is laid out, I can see it all the way to the end, I can see the clubhouse and everything else, everything's good. And then they step into the car, and it's like one of those things where you think you're getting on the train that's going to, this station, and there's a sudden switch in the tracks, and all of a sudden all the stuff that you had planned, everything that you thought was going to be part of your roller coaster ride, is completely different, because there is a randomness or an isness of now. There is an actual thing that we call the external reality universe, which has nothing to do with your ego choices. And so everything that you prepared for is now no less than wasted time. And if the ego stays involved, it invents a fantasy. It says, well, even though right now we're screaming down at 90 miles an hour from the top of a roller coaster ride, in my mind, la 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 la. Oh, this can't be happening. It's this can't. No, stop
dear.
this ride. No, this is not for me. This is for other people. Other people go through this. They're in a roller coaster called denial, and that you see very much. And instead, what Tolle and what others have said is through this acceptance of the roller coaster, of the fact that you step into a car, and you have to accept the fact that you're in this now, and you have no idea where the next turn is going to be. No idea where the next turn is going to be. Enjoy this particular present moment. In this present moment, we're just kind of gliding along. Everything's calm. There's the water under the boat or the tracks under the car are smooth and straight. Great. The next moment, you may be hurtling off the figurative cliff, heading for the abyss. And the next moment after that, you may be suddenly torn out of the abyss and now heading around a curve. And you didn't go into the pit, but you're still in a curve. Those things are the isness of now, the tracks, and we have no idea how long those tracks and where they go. However, at that very moment, you get to choose. That's what we said before. The being knows it has the choice to take what life gives it and enjoy it, or not.
Right. And honestly, there is only two choices. You can't remain neutral in that moment.
No.
It's, it's fine. It's like, I don't know one person on that roller coaster that was blasé about the whole thing.
The physical roller coasters, right.
Yeah, no, and there are people who want to choose that blasé road, whereas, it's just this or that. It's like, no, you're not really living. You're thinking about this. but you're not actually in it. I guess it's sort of the state when you're waiting to get on. You get people who are sort of thinking about it, maybe trying to pretend to be blasé. But the minute you sit down and you're strapped in, there's no bored aspect or, mental. There's no mental aspect. Mm. And you either enjoy it or you don't.
And, to bring it to our experience, our roller coaster, when we were in the pediatric cancer wards, at the very moment that we were diagnosed, actually this wasn't in Sloan Kettering, but it was in a different hospital nearer to us, the roller coaster that our family was in, our little family was in, suddenly took a tremendous change. It went from what we thought was just a nice, pleasant little ride with all these little things, and everything was fine. And
you were expecting certain bumps,
right? And then it got a little bumpy and a little dark. I said, "Well, it's still going to be okay. It's still going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. It's just we're going to go there, and they're going to find out the things. And we wrote this in Christopher's book. The medicine will come in, and they'll be able to fix everything. And then you get to the top of that kind of bumpy hill, and you're kind of rattling along, and you're at the top, and you think, okay, well, now we're done. It's just going to straighten out, and everything's going to be fine. And you get this roller coaster that goes off the cliff, that goes off the dive. And the first thing you get that you're told is that, well, we have no idea how to cure this, and this is what you have, and it's never been diagnosed in this state before. It's maybe the 7th or 8th case in the world this year, and you are going to go directly. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. You're going to go directly straight to the level that almost everyone else gets to after years and years and years of treatment. No, your only option is this, and if that doesn't work, you got nothing. And then they say, well, do you have any questions? No, you're just heading down that. You're in free fall. The ego is gone. The body's, the heart is pounding. The eyes are palpitating. You're now in the car, and you can't. And this we saw. People just say, well, no, wait, stop the car. No, I got to get off this. This is not me. You've got the wrong person. I have all my insurance here. Don't you understand? I've done all the right things. I've signed all the right bills. I've got all the right stuff. No, reality says, here's your car. You don't get to get off. You don't get a do-over. You get to accept it. And this is where through suffering, you realize and you get to the point where you throw the ego out of the car. The ego just becomes, a piece of you, which is no longer the idea, the identity of you. It becomes a piece of you, no longer the identity of you, because you are now completely, totally immersed in the reality of this. And you have to decide to accept it, which takes a long time perhaps for people. Some can't. And then you have to decide that this is your life. This is where you are right now. You might as well enjoy it in one respect.
Okay. Basically, your foundation is understanding that you do not control this pathway. All right? It's been laid out in front of you. You choose to participate in your life or you do not. That's all you got.
Yeah.
So when you choose to participate, especially when you have someone that needs guidance through all of this, it is terrifying for you, but you are making, how do I say this? You are accompanying someone who must walk this path, no matter what. And you're with them. You choose to be with them or you choose not to. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I always had an upset with. There were parents that chose not to be with their children going through all of this. Mm-hmm. That would bother me. to no end. Because at that point, you're sort of abdicating your role as a parent. And is that what you really want? It's basically, the analogy would be allowing your child to go on this ride all by themselves.
Exactly, the analogy.
And go through all the terror and all through, and then at the end, when they're done, you're looking at them, well, how was it? I was like, well, you didn't even experience any part of it. You let them go through it by themselves. And I did see this repeatedly with different parents, all right? And the child comes up to it because they have to. They have to. And usually they're very gracious and merciful to the parent that could not be with them through it because they love them.
Exactly what you said. The person, the child, the being that's going through it, knows they can't, at the level of reality, they know they can't get off the car. But when you have the choice, in essence, what you're saying is that these parents were presented with a choice. Do I stay in this car as a full participant, not just as a bystander, not watching from the parking lot, or taking pictures?
Well, the attitude was, well, I don't know what's going on anyway, and then the doctors and the nurses know better, so they'll take care of my kid.
Right.
And it's heartbreaking for me, because the child does rely on you for emotional guidance, for spiritual guidance, someone just to hold their hand through the rough parts.
Right.
And it will bring you to the edge of tears when you see the abandonment, even though the parents are reasoning themselves right out of that car.
It's exactly what you said. There's the reason, the ego, the talking yourself out of it. As you said, well, I don't know anybody. How can I help? The car rolls up. This roller coaster car rolls up, and you get the diagnosis. We're now the hill. Here comes the hill. You're going to head for the abyss. And there are those who will bail out on you. Just to use another way, not just parents, but when you're put into this situation, we had this experience. Think of people that you thought would be your friends,
your staunchest
allies. They would never abandon you. They always told you, no, you go wherever you go through. They're like,
gone.
Nice knowing you, or exactly, they just ghost.
They're gone.
They're gone.
They're gone. They just don't make an appearance, and usually what I hear was, well, gee, I didn't want to bother you guys. I didn't want to interrupt what was going on. And it was like,
it was easier.
You didn't even check to see if we were breathing. Okay.
Right.
So I understand. You're afraid. Your fear had taken hold. And you found a mental excuse not to talk to us because you were petrified of what was actually going on.
And then there are those who you never expected, who in essence, who you thought, well, it's just a casual acquaintance, or you just met them, and they jump right in. In other words, they're like, my humanity, my being needs to be here. And I don't care that I'm afraid. I know you're afraid. I know that this moment of now needs not just you. You need a little bit from me. And you found this moment, this hill going down is a winnowing.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever heard the term winnowing, what it means is that the chaff and the wheat, or rather the stems and the broken stalks and the things that you don't need, the chaff, the stuff that isn't food, the stuff that you just want to throw out, it's mixed together with the good stuff. The grains and all the stuff you want. So winnowing, that moment when you are able to separate the two, you're separating that which is trash and that which is good, the grains and everything you need, and then you burn the trash.
Mm-hmm.
you find out who's with you, and
who has substance.
Who has substance?
Winnowing, when you winnow something, you're basically beating it.
Well, that's another way, yes.
No, but seriously.
You are.
You're beating.
Threshing is the beating part. Winnowing is a little easier than threshing, but yes, beating it.
Well, threshing, okay.
Yeah.
Am I mistaken? Because I thought the winnowing was like you're doing this. You're like,
They're both the same. You can thresh, you can beat the heck out of it and get the grain out and leave the chaff also. And that's what happens is suddenly a moment of crushing, of threshing comes in, and you separate away that which is the stuff that sticks with you is the grain, and the stuff that falls away was never really. It was telling you all the time, I'm with you, I'm with you to the end, and then the first beat happens, the first whack, and it falls away like dust, like it was never there. And it tells itself very, very confidently, I would have been there, but I had this Elks Club meeting I had to go to, and then I had a meeting for, and all the excuses in the world come up.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is, that was a long haul, and we lost people towards the end because they could not take the
too long
intensity for that long.
Yeah.
So you basically have to forgive them because you got to go on, and you can't carry them along. You have enough on your back that you've got to carry.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's fine. You're over there. That's great. I'm going. I got to go. I have no choice.
And there's something there a little bit of again that every moment that you're in the car and it's hurtling along and going through, every moment you actually have the moment to say, I'm going to get out now. And you keep on going. In other words, you're not. We use the analogy that you're forced into the car and you can't get out. But in true life, in the true roller coaster of life, you can step off in the sense that you could just say, like those people did, I can't continue to do this. You can give up. You can. It's not saying that the problem is gone, but you succumb to the ego conceit that you can just give up and walk away from it. Instead, you go on because the path you're on needs to be trodden. The people who need you, let's say you're walking through hell with another, needs you to be there. But every moment of that journey, you can step off. It's the will to continue. I will be with you. I will be faithful all the way through.
Mm-hmm. And being faithful all the way through is really what it's about. It's, will you give in to the fact that you feel uncomfortable and, gee, I just can't take anymore? And give that over and just say, well, I don't matter.
Right.
This is all about him or the child, or this is not about me.
Not the little I.
And that's where the test is. In the long run, you find out who falls back into, well, I'm feeling so bad right now. And they succumb to the temptation
to
give in to selfish love. And on that note, we have reached the end of our show.
The end of our roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. So I'm Margaret.
And I'm Michael.
And thank you for coming along on this ride.
Good one.